Before we begin this episode, I just want to shout out the Level 2 Spoiler Force patrons, Orion Vang and Yi Langley. Thank you for the support.
This is Emi Lo, voice of Uta from Bubble, and you're watching Spoiler Force.
All right, so this is episode 128 of Spoiler Force Podcast. My name is Ricky, and thank you for tuning in. This week's guest is someone that I was not expecting to get, which I'll touch up on later on in this episode of how we got to work together on this episode. But she is the voice of Uta from the Netflix anime Bubble. She is also the voice of Destiny from Takt Destiny, and she's also Suma from Demon Slayer, one of Tengen Uzui's wives. So let me just bring my guest here, Emi Lo. Thank you so much for doing this.
Hello, thanks for having me.
I wanted to touch up on like how I got you on the show here because I sent out the email like last month, and then last weekend when you replied back, I didn't realize that it was your wedding. So I went back on Twitter and I was like, "Oh my god, it was!" Like I felt so bad because I didn't know.
It's totally fine. It's totally fine.
Yeah, because like I don't like being pushy to like guests or like upcoming guests that are on the podcast. So like if you respond back, it's cool and all. But especially when there's something like that that's important like that, I was like, "Oh my god, did I? I should have just waited." But I was.
I mean, it was pretty chill. Like I didn't really talk much about it, so it was kind of like the day of. Suddenly, like. There were pictures and yeah.
Yeah, because when you responded, I was just done doing press for like Fan Expo Dallas, and so when I saw the email that on that Sunday, I was like, I went to my cousins. I'm like, "Yo, is this real life?" Like she just responded back, like, "Holy crap!" So like I had to think about what I had to say and all that. But again, thank you, Emi, for that. It was just I just wanted to make that clear because like, I did not know.
It's totally fine.
But yeah, you've done some voice acting, especially recently with Bubble, with the Netflix anime movie done by Wit Studios, and the music was done by Hiroyuki Sawano as well.
Yes,
I thought that movie was fantastic. You did such a great job as Uta.
Thank
you. Even that though, you also do like ADR directing, which was a topic I wanted to touch up on later on this episode too, like for Ranking of Kings, or you assisted with Ranking of Kings,
yes.
Which is another fantastic anime. But for fans and for followers who are watching or listening to this episode, can you give like a brief, I guess, story of how you got into like voice acting or an animation?
So I guess I've always watched anime and played video games since I was little, Asian, that stuff. And I really liked it after I played Tales of Symphonia. And I had always wanted to do like acting and theater and stuff. But my parents were very Asian. We're like, no, not allowed to do that stuff. And so I went to college. I got a master's degree in piano, classical piano. And then after that, it was like, I just didn't really know what to do after that. And one thing led to another. And I was like, I really, really want to go back to this thing and seriously pursue it. And my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, he was like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Okay, let me find a job." And like a few months later, we were living in Texas. And so I sent my demo out, I auditioned, I took classes and stuff like that, and I got lucky, and here I am.
That is perfect. I love that you brought up the whole like the whole Asian thing, because that's I know what that's like personally. Like the arts is not meant for us, but it's weird because technically music is the arts too, and you have a degree in piano, so
yeah. They're not created equally to them, I guess.
Tales of Symphonia, did you play that on the GameCube? Because that's that's a good one. I have it on Steam too, so I've been playing that again. I put it in Japanese though.
Yes. Well, I mean, I love I originally played it in English because that's what it was on the GameCube. But then when it came out in the definitive edition, I played it in Japanese, especially because of the OVA. I remember watching the OVAs, and also Mythos is played by Minami Takayama, who voices Conan and who is like an idol of mine. And I was like, I need this.
So now that you're living in Texas, and same for me as well, like the voice acting and anime community here is huge. So like when you were just starting out getting roles, Was it just, were you just taking the ones that like just came to you, or were you picky? I mean, you don't have to be picky about it, but like, was there a sense of like, I want certain roles versus just getting any job that was available?
Oh God, I'm grateful for anything. I will take whatever, as long as it's not like, like explicit, like porn or something like that. Yeah, I'll take it. Or like if it's not like a character that goes against my morals. But besides that, like I basically, like if I'm getting work, I am just so grateful to just get work.
Are you doing your work from home as well? I know that that's been kind of a thing with voice actors, but now that I don't know what the conditions are like now, but I know people are coming back, and the Crunchyroll studios in Texas too. So
Yeah.
are you going back there too?
Yeah, so all of the Crunchyroll stuff that I do is now in studio. But I still do remote stuff for like Bang Zoom and stuff like that. So it really depends on the studio.
Okay. Yeah, I have a friend who lives close to the Crunchyroll studio, and
Yeah.
so I drove past there and I was like, "There's no
It's
way."
so shiny.
Yeah, like I didn't even think that, like, I thought it'd be more low key, like they just have like the address number and then maybe just like a very casual like Crunchyroll, and then like when you look at the sign, it's like it's out there, So
Yeah.
like, I was
Mhm.
like, oh, so they're not being shy about it.
No, they're
'Cause I
not. They're really
yeah,
not.
because I know that I don't know exactly, but I think Funimation was like pretty hidden about it. Like their building was there, but then they didn't really make themselves like, damn, we're Funimation, because
Well, no, actually, the corner of the building had a giant thing that said Funimation. So,
oh, okay. Okay, because I was wondering about that, because like I know that there are fans out there who'd go out of their way to be
mhm.
like, oh look, there's the voice actor, like, hey,
Yeah, that's why they're actually at the old building. There was a side entrance that was for the actors, and
Okay.
then the place where the big sign was that said Funimation was actually the administrative side and the marketing and all of that, and there was security there. So
For I guess for your roles that you've received, like for Demon Slayer and Takt OP and for Bubble, like out of these roles, you played these voices very differently. Like Suma, you had like a very high pitch, very close to the Seiyu, and hearing your speaking voice, it's a lot different. So,
yeah.
how did you, I guess, just find those voices for those characters?
I think it helps that I have a musical background and I also have perfect pitch. So like when I hear something, I don't know, it's just something that clicks, and then I just think of that timbre and then I just switch to it. I don't really think there's any scientific way behind it. It's just how it sounds, like the note in my head, and then that's how I match it. And or for like Uta, it's like a softer tone, so then I soften up my voice and make it breathier, etc. So, yeah.
Yeah, when here again, just hearing those voices, it's very like I like that you can make it very unique, and of course music plays a huge part when it comes to just voice acting. A lot of the other
Mhm.
voice actors I've spoken with, some of them did like stage plays or like
Yeah.
musical, like they did musicals or they sang. With your piano background, do you feel like that's helped you a lot with your career in voice acting?
I think so, especially with ADR in particular, because there's so much of the rhythm. And so instead of having to actually watch while looking at the script at the same exact time and like going like this, whenever I'm previewing, I have the rhythm in my head. And then so I can just focus and then I keep that in my head and then I can just look at the script when I'm actually recording.
Now for Bubble, which is a topic I wanted to touch up on,
Mhm.
that movie recently came out earlier this year and it was on Netflix. And for folks who have not watched it yet, please do, because we will be talking about the
It's
ending and all of that too.
beautiful.
And I'm like I've said this on the podcast before. Like I'm not too big on Netflix anime. It's
Mhm.
just I don't know why it took me a while to kind of like come around to it, because I guess with other streaming services they have different shows and whatnot.
Mhm.
But when I saw Studio Wit on there, I'm like, okay. And then Hiroyuki Sawano, I was like, okay, I'm
Yeah,
sold on
right,
this.
right.
Um, I watched it subbed first, and then I went back and watched it in dub. Um, how did you find any like challenges at all? I guess when it came to just voicing Uta.
Yeah, it was a learning process because so much of her lines are just sounds, and you have to convey so much in just like a gasp or a smile or a breath. And that also meant that whenever she did talk, it had to land because like it's not like you have a huge script full of hundreds of lines, and
Right.
if one line sounds bad, it's like whatever. It's like everything she did had to be meaningful. So that was definitely a challenge.
How did you feel about like just her story, like when she just comes out of nowhere, and then you kind of just fall in love with the character, and at the end it's just like, oh my god, heart
Yeah. Oh
wrenching.
my god. I was crying in the booth. I remember the director and I, we were like, oh my god, why? No. And I loved her so much because she's so cat-like and I love cats. And like so whenever she did all those gremlin things like hissing and like jumping around, like I just loved her so much because of all that.
Yeah, I liked when she finally like discovers the animals, or like puts her hand in the boiling
Oh
water,
my
and like
god, yeah. Or with the chicken and then she's
yeah.
like, oh look, an egg, and she
Yeah.
cries. It's so great.
Yeah, that again, that movie was just phenomenal. I myself, I cried at the end, with her and
Yeah.
Hibiki's last moments, and like,
Mhm.
I really loved the I guess the parallel to her story, and then like, with the Little Mermaid,
Yeah.
the fairy tale of that, and I like that with this movie though, they didn't stick so much to the original of the original story of the Little Mermaid. Like they
Mhm.
actually made these two characters fall in love with each other, and then they had to separate. But
Yeah.
you know, I mean, at the end though, if you can say, like, what was your? Do you think at the end? Do you think she survived, or do you think that's just like metaphorical with the bubbles and stuff like that?
I think she did because when he's parkouring at the end, yeah, she's there as the little bubble with him. So that's why it ends on a hopeful note because the last sound in the movie is her giggle as he's
Okay.
in the sky with that bubble next to her with next to him. So yeah, I like to think that like she's still with him.
When you were doing the voice for Utsu during like production, did they not want to have you like do like the, I guess the singing part of it? I think they kept it as is in the dub as well, right?
Yeah, there's one part when he first mentions the sound and she runs off, and it's before the that montage where it has the music and her singing and stuff. The first few notes I do sing,
Okay.
but the rest of it, I think it's because the Seiyu is a singer, so they were also advertising her as a singer first, and it was already in the track with Sawano's music and stuff like that. So
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, and I know the ending. She does the ending song too, which is like super
yeah.
sad too.
Oh my, I love the pictures they show for that though, where they
Yeah.
juxtapose her in like the real life situations. Those are so cool. Like with the real cat.
Well, and speaking of that too, like the whole I guess just like the whole metaphor of like the spiral or like infinity. I love that they brought that into the story too. Like at the end, like they're showing the montage of like the universe and all of that. I
Mhm.
thought that was really cool. That stood out in this movie. But again, I think you did a great job, Emmy.
Thank
But
you.
yeah, anyone who has not watched this, please do. But yeah, and I guess we can just continue on with like your voice acting. I guess resume as well. But for Demon Slayer being so hot right now, and the Tengen Izui's wives, and they were all announced. They were all announced around the same time.
Yeah.
So did I guess how did you land that role for Suma, or were you going for any other character at all?
I was actually in the middle of directing something and I opened my email and it said Demon Slayer casting and scheduling. And I was like, oh, it must be an audition or something. And it was like, we would like to let you know that we have cast you in the role of Suma. And I was just like, what? So yeah, that's basically what happened there. I was like in the middle of work on a different show as a director sitting right at this laptop. And then I got that email on my phone and I was just like, I just need to process this for a moment. So yeah, it came totally out of left field for me.
I love hearing like how a lot of the voice actors, how they just get roles. I know there's auditions, or like the manager comes
Mhm.
in, or your management comes in and gives you the roles, but that just sounded like very just nonchalant. It's like, oh, I got it, and this, like you said, right in the middle of the work.
Yep.
What did you think of the of just that season of Demon Slayer? I know like Suma doesn't have big parts, but then she is in, like, there are comical moments that she has.
Yeah. She's like
What did you?
screaming in the background during a bunch
Yeah.
of stuff and uh intense. Like wow, obviously the animation is ridiculous, the soundtrack and like just the fights were all out. Really just it was work of art. That's all I can really say about it. But ufotable, I don't know how you actually pronounce it. Ufotable, they have
I
a lot of money,
oh
so
yeah.
so you're getting something really good with them, especially when it's already like a big franchise. So
Yeah, I think one of my favorite moments of Suma was when they're on the rooftop and she's
oh
telling
yeah, she's like, yay,
like
they
I wish
beheaded
you could
them.
wake up and you're not dead
Yeah,
or
look
something
from
like that.
beyond the
Yeah.
grave, and it's and he's like, you can't say that. She's like, huh?
Yeah, like her moments were just very good, like perfect timing, and then like even when Tengen gets healed by Nezuko, she's like, "Oh
Oh
my
my
god, like why are
god,
you
yeah.
cremating him right
Yeah,
now?"
I loved when she's crying, she's like, why is God so cruel? I hate everything. And then Makio's like, I am going to stuff rocks in your mouth if you don't shut up. And then in the script, it's actually like it has me like wailing and crying and then spit rocks out of mouth noise. And I'm just like, oh god.
That's good. And then like just Uzui, just like and Ray. And shout out to Ray Chase for doing such
Oh
a great
yeah.
job as Uzui.
Yeah.
But he was like, I can't
He
believe
was
I'm
like,
gonna
I can't even
die
say
not
my
saying
last
what I want.
words.
Right. I got the chance to meet him at KameyaCon earlier this year, and like
Nice.
I asked him like how did you like just prepare for that fight? Like because I had so much screaming in
Yeah,
that
right?
final fight, and he just told me like he just kept practicing and practicing, but I it's still like phenomenal comparing like even when you compare it to the original sub like I give you guys a lot of credit for this season of Demon Slayer too, like it was good. It's
Thank
very good.
you. I remember my first session for Suma. It was at the end of a 12-hour day where I had already done some recordings for other shows, including Orient, which is a shonen, and I was doing fighting scenes in that, and I was directing. And so it's like at the end of that day, I had to like scream as Suma, and I was just like, okay, let's do this.
I mean, it's intense. Like you guys are in the booth almost all day, just
Hmm.
just like screaming or like doing, making fight noises and all that. How do you, I guess, just maintain your voice? I know that could be very stressful at times.
I drink a lot of tea. Korean marmalade tea, that honey citron stuff, is really great. Also ninjam, that syrup, the honey loquat syrup is really good, but they also have like a cough drop version that I love using. I used to use it all the time during karaoke, and it was just amazing. So yeah, it's mostly those two things, and then just a lot of rest when
Yeah,
I can.
I mean, you're in ADR too, so like, are you in the studio all day because of that? You're doing voice work and directing.
Because I'm an assistant, most of the time that means that I sub. So basically,
Okay.
the director does their salaried time, and then whenever they are out, when they have to go to a con, or if there's not enough time to finish the stuff, like a lot of times I'm on the night shift, which means I direct
Okay.
from 6 to 10. So it's not like I'm sitting next to the director while they're directing. It's I'm actually directing when they are not
Okay.
directing. So that's what assistant directing is.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, I was wondering about that because I didn't know if they had you like not so much shadow him, but like if he's off doing one thing, you're helping him do something
Hmm.
else. But it's cool that you get to take over once, like if they're out of the office or not there. So that's pretty. I mean, they say assistant, but I think the work you put in, that's pretty much directing as well,
Yeah,
just to do that.
basically.
Uh, and again, just to kind of go back to the voice acting again, when your voice for Destiny in Takt OP, like
Yeah.
that's like a musical anime as well, and
Hmm.
that's what actually drew me into this anime was just the musical score. Like they played like
Yeah.
I'm not a big like classical music person, but like I recognize some of the art or some of
Yeah.
the songs that they played. For you as a musician as well, how did you like? What was your thoughts on that?
So when the show first was announced back in October or something like that in Japan, I don't even remember. It was like over half a year ago. I was like, man, I really want to read for this show. I hope I can audition for it. I asked my agent. I was like, please look out for this, so I can audition for it. And then they decided not to dub it. And I was like, okay, well, at least if it can't be me, it's nobody else. But then this season, I got Crunchyroll suddenly decided to dub it, and I auditioned for Destiny, and I got her. And so like because like I was just so into the aesthetic of the show that like first of all, like Destiny's outfit is just absolute aesthetic, the red and the
Yeah.
roses and the musical themes. And also as a classical musician, I just love anything that has to do with that. Like I love the show No Dame Cantabile, and yeah, which is a older series, has a manga live action, which is the best iteration of it. And yeah, basically it just seemed to check so many boxes of things that I loved. It had like the attractive looking conductor, rose themes. It like was like Lolita-esque in like the appearance, and like it was graceful. It had classical music. The story was really cool, seemed really cool. The music was great. It's just like I just really, really, really wanted to be in it. So like I basically, once it was announced, I fell in love with it. And so just being part of it and being able to help direct it too has just been a dream. It's been a lot of fun.
You guys aren't done with it yet, right? I know there's like 12 episodes.
Yeah, we're
Or
not done with it yet.
right. Okay. I just didn't. I want to make sure I'm not like, asking things that are not finished yet. So, but yeah, when I was because I watched it in sub first, and it's the way how Mappa and Madhouse, like, they work together just to do the fight scenes for this anime is amazing. And like you said, like I love when Destiny just starts transforming right away, and then when
Yeah.
she just starts fighting, and her weapons are really cool. I think that's what makes it really cool too. Like it has like this mecha kind of look to it, and I love Destiny's character because she's so not bland, but she's very straightforward and sort of
Yes.
emotionless at times. Was there anything that you had to do to prepare for that kind of character, like for that role?
It's actually kind of a typecast of mine. I do play a lot of like the soft, less emotion. It's kind of weird because I often am either on one or the other side of the spectrum with my roles. But yeah, so like it was another reason why I really wanted to play Destiny was because I knew that I would be able to pull her off because that was the kind of role that I was very comfortable with. And also with Cosette, which is the other side of the spectrum.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I just, especially with Kate from Shadow's House, who is also very reserved and soft and stuff. This was like going to another level based off of that. And, she has her moments. And the hardest part, I think, with playing Destiny is figuring out when she is like beep boop robot and when she starts to show like the human moments, because it's not like a direct development. She'll have like these moments, but then she'll revert back to that emotionless music heart kind of facade.
Yeah.
And then so you have to figure out where exactly you choose to put those moments, like when she eats sweets or when she talks about cats or when Takt is like talking about like his past and stuff like that. So, and then it's like, it's not like a straight out, she suddenly sounds human either.
Right.
It's like it's a little bit here, a little bit there. And yeah.
Yeah, those are fantastic points that you brought up. Like I was gonna say that too. Like when she's doing things that's like human like to her, she's learning it. But then when she talks to Takt, she's back to being the music art, and he's frustrated with her.
Yeah, I love their banter so much. It's so fantastic.
But yeah, I like that you mentioned that you also help direct with Tactile P Destiny. So just for the fans followers as well, did you get into directing before or after voice acting?
Very much after. My first directing project was a little maybe a year into the pandemic. Basically, I had shadowed a little bit before then because I wanted to watch directors work with actors and see how they act. It was more for an acting perspective because I wanted to see how I could improve as an actor based on how the other actors in the booth were taking direction from the directors, because I'm still technically on the newer side in this industry. And then just suddenly out of nowhere, Michelle from Studio Nano was like, hey, how's your schedule for like the next month or two? And I'm like, it's pretty open. She's like, great. I have this show for you to direct. Cast it this weekend. We start recording next week. And that's
Oh
that.
wow. Oh wow. Just like right then and there.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I believe you're probably the first ADR director on my podcast. So like I'm very like curious on just how everything works because Caitlin Glass was at Nishi Fest early this year as well. She had a panel about talking about like being a voice actor and doing ADR and just how like just for the fans who like want to be voice actors, like they were telling them like you don't have to just be that. There's other opportunities at like Crunchyroll or at other
Yeah.
animation studios when it comes to just work there.
Mhm.
And I think that's great that for you, I mean, you have that under your resume as well, just to be a director. And when you're doing that versus voice acting, what differences like do you I guess are you seeing when it comes to just doing that?
Well, the thing is, the director has to know the full story, whereas the actor who's focusing on their character is just seeing the story from their character's point of view. But for the director, they have to make sure that everything makes sense cohesively, and so it's a lot of work. You learn a lot more about the story, about the show, and sometimes you have to adjust the language for the characters in the scripts and stuff like that based on like how the character would talk, and so you have to know the characters all intimately. So yeah, it's a lot of work because like let's be honest, most actors like they book a lot of roles. We're not going to remember the show for every single thing we've booked. We might just know where our character showed up, what they said, maybe, and then that's it. But like when you're directing, you have to know it from back to front in order to give a product that has heart and shows that it's not just thrown together. And you have to be able to explain to the actors that you're directing, this is what you're doing and this is why, and this is what happened before and this is what's going to happen after and stuff like that. So you have to be that Wikipedia article for the characters, because the actor's only going to see the script. They're only going to see the lines like directly before, directly after, because half the time the shows aren't even out yet.
Right.
So yeah.
Now are you also like doing the, I guess, just managing when it comes to the voices, when like the syncing the voices, I guess, to the mouth flaps of the characters too?
That's mostly the engineer's job,
Okay.
but we do like booth reviews and mix reviews and stuff like that, where we watch everything over and we can be like, oh, move this over a little bit. This is a
Okay.
little short. This is a little long, and then the engineer will do that work and stuff like that. Or mix reviews, it's like, oh, it's a little too quiet here. Maybe make the background chatter a little quieter here or louder. We can't really hear this person talking while there's all this music in the background, or maybe they're in a cave. We should have some cave reverb in here and it's a little too powerful maybe, or whatever. So
you're like in pretty much a little bit of everything, but not managing the whole thing. You're just like seeing what they're doing generally.
yeah.
Okay, that's perfect. Yeah, I think that's really cool just to be able to see all of that, and again, like you mentioned, just to know the story back to front like that. It's at times it's a lot of information to take in, especially if you're
Totally.
directing multiple projects.
Oh
So
yeah.
how do you handle that?
um Honestly, a lot of times you just pray. There was a period where I was assisting two directors recently, and so at night I would be assisting one director, and then during the day, whenever Caitlin was out, I would be directing for her. And so, like, working on all those shows, it would be like, okay, I just got back from like, and all the characters that I'm acting as well. But like I remember I got back from my wedding, and then like an episode had passed in between because I had someone else subbing for me who was subbing whatever. And then so it's like, so here is this scene. Hang on, let me read through the whole script because I just literally got back here, so I need to figure this out too. So like sometimes there are things like that. So it does get pretty complex, but you just do what you can, really.
Are there any projects that you just really enjoyed working on as a director?
Yeah, I mean, I loved working on Takt. I loved working on Restaurant to Another World.
Oh,
That
that's a
was
good one.
just so comfy and fun. And also Ranking of Kings. That was wonderful, being able to work with those fantastic actors as well. And a project that I directed myself that has not been released yet. I had a lot of fun with. So
If you want to start your own podcast like Spoiler Force, then sign up with Buzzsprout. Buzzsprout has helped hundreds of thousands of users like me to begin their podcasting journey. With easy to use tools, you can effectively get your podcast into different platforms like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and more. You can view your stats, create audio clips, and even have your own podcasting website. Buzzsprout offers ideas, tips, tricks, and tutorials to help you improve your podcast. Follow the link below, and once you sign up, you'll get a $20 Amazon gift card. This will let Buzzsprout know that I sent you and will also support Spoiler Force Podcast. If you want a simpler way to record both video and audio for your podcast, then sign up with StreamYard. StreamYard is the perfect program to create podcasts, host live streams, and even do video calls. There are many tools that can help you create and design your own personal studio. You can screen share, read live comments, and stream to different destinations like Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. You can also download your video and audio once you're done with your recording session. Follow the link below, and once you sign up with the basic or pro plan, you'll earn a $10 credit to use for StreamYard. Happy podcasting. Actually, bringing up Ranking of Kings, that's a great way to just go into this next topic here, because I have Brianna Roberts coming on my show
I
like
love her.
right after this,
Mhm.
right after this recording. Like I'm gonna talk to her. So, and that's one thing I want
Brianna, I love you. Okay.
Like,
it's like I'll text that right now. Brianna, I love you.
because the thing was, like, I reached out to her much later after I sent the email to you, and when she responded back, I'm like, oh crap, like I have Miranjo on my podcast now. So, and I love Ranking of Kings. I think it's an absolute underdog anime, and I don't know why. Like when I go to these cons, I'll see like a few Ranking of Kings artwork. I'm just like, man, I know this person watched it because the booths with the Ranking King art, like I know these people loved it. Yeah, they love this show.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but like the thing was, like, there's people out here who don't know what it is, and I'm just like, really, you guys, like my cousin who's my roommate here, I told him like, dude, you better watch this. It looks like a cartoon. It is not. It is so twisted when you watch this, and he binged it within like I think a night and a half. So
wow,
he was hooked. He was like, he even bought like this this mural, this, I guess not mural, but like this huge art print of like the drawing is Bochi, but then in that like Bochi drawing, there's all the other characters inside.
I think someone was selling that at Acon.
Yeah.
Caitlin was telling me about that. She was like, I saw this gorgeous art.
Now, what are your thoughts on that, Emi? Like, I mean, since you directed, helped assist on the show, do you feel like it's an underdog anime, or do you feel like not a lot of people have been exposed to Ranking of Kings?
I think the problem with why not a lot of people looked into it at first is because it seemed like just like a chill fantasy thing with a little boy and his little mascot friend, shadow friend. And you're just like, oh, it's simple. It's the animation looks so lazy because it's not like complex, but I love that storybook aspect to it, and I love how the storybook aspect really contrasts with with the actual plot of it. And like, I just remember like as each, because we were watching each episode as they came along too. So it's like, as you thought it was getting darker, the next episode got even darker, and then the next one got even darker. I remember when I was directing with Brianna, it would be like, so this is the mirror, and then next episode's like, so her name's Miranjo. it's like it looks like there's something going on with her and Boss. We're not really sure, and it's like, so we were learning so much about the characters while we were going through it, and it was an adventure, which. It's like Boji's adventure. And also, I think people went into Ranking of Kings thinking it would 100% focus on Boji. Yeah. And the thing is, he's thrown to the side for so much of it. And like I love Hilling. That was another red herring. Yeah, she's like best girl. And like, Daida really grew on me. Despa was hilarious. And like, and his horse, and then
Yeah.
even like that commander that doesn't have a name, he's like Commander 05A or something like that, just shows up all the time, and
I
it's just
didn't
really
realize
great.
he didn't have a name.
Yeah, he didn't. Every time he was like, he showed up in a script, it was just like male commander 05A, and that's
That is cool to know. Like, because watching it when it was the episodes were dropping, I'm just like, you just recognize the character. Like, okay, he's like the leader of, of the army. But like you said though, like Hilling, Daida, even Boss, like you kind of learn to just accept these characters and their flaws. Like Hilling was for me, like I thought she was the typical evil stepmother
yeah.
type of stereocast. And then like when she goes to Bochi's room and heals him, and then like you see like this underlying love that's not really shown at first, but then like, oh my
Yeah,
god,
it's
like,
because she does what she does because she wants to protect him.
and
And
just
that's
like
how it is. Yeah. She
that,
just doesn't think he should be king because she doesn't want him to hurt.
yeah, it just, but I mean that the second opening done by Vondi for
Yeah.
Ranking Kings, and like that hugging sequence in the opening. Oh my,
Mhm.
I tear up almost every time I watch that. And like, and then when, because like you see Kage's mom holding him, and then they go to transitions to healing hugging Bochi. I was like, oh my god, my
Yeah.
heart.
Oh my
Oh my
god.
god.
Yeah,
I
that was fun. Because I'm young Kage as well, so that was
Oh,
always
nice.
yeah.
No, wow. Okay, that's good to. I did not know. Okay, that's
Yeah, so
good.
I just go on in episode 2 to cry and make people cry, so it's fine.
His story was so
Oh
freaking
my
sad,
god.
and like,
Yeah.
oh my god, like I think I remember crying watching that part, because like his mom was saying like, go and run and hide, and I'll come back for you, and then he sees his mom on the spear like that, like, oh
And then
my
when he
god.
has to when he has to sell that gift, the only thing he has left from his mom
Oh,
just so he could, yeah, and it's just like, oh, he just
just to
wanted to be
survive.
loved. And oh my god. I remember also when directing Lucy on as Hilling during the scene where she's trying to become friends with Boji at first, and she's like chasing him around. That was hilarious. I remember we were laughing so hard while previewing that. And then the scene where she has like the pumps with all the healing potions
Oh,
so she can keep healing. Like it was just so intense and powerful, and it was, yeah, fantastic.
now, since you're assisting on for ADR for the show, did you do anything with casting at all, or they just told you like this is who you're working with?
This is basically, it's just like, this is who you, because Caitlin did basically all the casting. She did
Okay.
ask me for some opinions on like a few later ones, like Young Miranjo. I helped with that one, but like most of it was Caitlin because it's
Okay.
her show. So
Right.
and
Yeah.
she picked fantastic people. So
Oh man, I met Justin Briner at Fan Expo, and knowing that he plays Daida, I was like, oh my
oh
gosh, like
yeah,
it's, oh my god, I love Ranking of Kings. Both sub and dub did an amazing job. Again, like,
yeah.
just a lot of praises to you, I mean, for just being a part of that project.
Thank
It's
you.
just, it's so freaking phenomenal, and I
It
hope that
really
whoever's
is.
watching or listening to this, please watch Ranking of Kings, because you will feel all types of emotions, and you'll
Mhm.
also just love the show. I what was your thoughts on just to where you see Bochi's training and growth from just being like so weak physically, and then like at the end you see that he has like real strength, but in a different way.
Yeah, I really liked that. Because like I loved how there was that red herring where like it's like you hear explosions behind the door while he's training and
Yeah.
everything, and then Kage's like, "What is going on? Why does he have this giant sword? What is?" Yeah, but I really liked how they didn't suddenly make him OP in the sense that he suddenly grew a bunch of strength. I like how they were able to use the strength that he already had inside him, the speed and knowledge to find like the pressure points and stuff like that. I really liked that. And because like again, it's just such a big plot point with Boss having taken all of his strength. So like if he had suddenly become strong like physically, that's just, it kind of like ruins that, I feel like. So like everything tied in together, including the way that he was able to fight.
That was just so twisted too, like the
Yeah.
conspiracy of
Oh my
the
god.
kingdom and Boss and Mirandra just planning and executing their plan. And
Yeah.
then like like you said, like with Boss taking Bochi's strength, I thought that was like excuse my language, but it was really fucked up for him to do that. Just like,
Yeah,
yo,
and
that's your
you could
son.
tell that he kind of regretted it.
Yeah.
There was that part where the mom is like, Sheena is like, oh look, he's so tiny for a giant, and then he just like runs out and he's like screaming and like
I think with Ranking in Kings is they did such a good job of just showing how flawed people can be in this, like in the show. Like I think that's one thing that stood out to me the most was like you see Boss, who's like the strongest king, someone who folks wouldn't think would do wrong, does all these wrongs, and you just find out how messed up he is. Oh man! And then the end fight with him, or at least when he's in Daida's body, and when Bochi fights him, though, I think that was such a good metaphor because to Bochi, he's literally, figuratively, and literally facing giants every day. And Wit Studio just killed it. It looked like an episode from Attack on Titan, just him fighting Boss.
It's just so good. Oh my god, that's a beautiful show.
Do you have any any thoughts on the if you guys do another upcoming season? Like, do you have any thoughts on the story, like where it's gonna go, since Bochi and Kage like kind of just went off into their own thing again?
I don't know. I feel like it's pretty conclusive. I do like the fact that they just went off on their own, and it's like an open world now. He is now not tied down to the shadow of his brother and of his father and his family, and it's just all about Boji now. So I do like that open feeling because it gives more hope. I honestly feel like any further story may just be a cash grab, so I'm not really sure I want that.
Yeah, I like that. They kind of just let Boji do that at the end, where you think he wanted to be king just to be with Kage at the end. Like he wanted to be with his friend, and then there's a lot of like open, like, I guess not, I don't want to say plot holes, but there's like the other kings, and then apparently the gods are.
I mean, I feel like if it were a sequel, it would be about a different kingdom.
Yeah.
So it'd be more like a spin-off rather than like a sequel.
I just hope they don't like Game of Thrones it, like there's so many kingdoms, and then at the end nothing's resolved.
Right. The quest for more money.
Yeah. I mean, just like speaking of like conventions earlier too, have you gone to any recently at all?
Yeah. So my first one was actually in like November. I went to one in Arizona, and then I went to KatsuCon, and then in February, and then I went to ToraCon up in Rochester, New York in March, and then in April I had Colorado Anime Fest, which was in Denver. And then in May, I went last minute. I was last minute guest at MizuCon in Miami, Florida. I have a bit of a break now. My next one that's been announced is San Japan in Austin. So that'll be fun. And I have a gorgeous new, sorry, not Austin. Yeah, San Antonio. That's my husband. I keep mixing it up. But yeah, I have this gorgeous new Uta print that I just got commissioned that I'm bringing to that. So
I think I've seen you posted on Twitter, right? I think I've seen it.
Yeah, the one that Soundless Winds drew, and it's like the colors are just, oh my god.
How does it feel like to go back to cons now? I mean, even with the pandemic protocols and all that, how does it feel like just to be seeing fans again and doing autographs and all of that?
Well, like I said before, my career is relatively new, so I actually hadn't done any cons before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's a whole new experience for me. I used to attend a lot of cons as like a fan or as a cosplayer. I cosplayed for companies to help promote things like Aniplex. But November was my first time like actually like guesting and.
So how is that like then? I mean, going as an attendee versus like being invited to one, that must feel a lot different, right?
It is very different. Yeah. They're busy in two different ways, but especially since pandemic is still going on. Basically, I just do my events and then I just hide in my room and sleep. So,
I mean, do you cosplay when you're doing guest spots at all, or do you just try to stay comfortable?
Yeah, I've been trying to stay as comfortably as possible because also cosplay takes so much space in the suitcase.
Yeah.
And now that I have to bring prints and stuff like that, and I don't want to check any luggage, it's like I just bring what is absolutely necessary. So
For the art that you commission for cons and stuff, do you contact those artists or like?
yes,
Okay,
I
so you
love.
you, you find
Yeah.
which ones that you like and
Mhm.
okay,
Yeah, I love looking for artists. I follow so many artists on Twitter and stuff like that. So
same.
it's really just
It-
an excuse for me to commission art.
I don't know if you can go into detail about it, but like, are you buying? Is there like a license thing that you do with them? Like you buy their
Yep,
print and then
it's a
okay,
commercial. It's a commercial commission. So
okay,
like yeah, it's a different price than a personal commission. So
right,
I
okay.
say that I'm going to be using it for that, and then they charge me accordingly.
Every time or just like the one time fee?
The one time.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, so
Yeah.
anyone that's like an artist that's listening, you know, keep drawing and make sure you can let these voice actors find your prints because like I spoke with Mark Witten about that a little bit too
Yeah, Mark's great.
yeah at where was it, at Acon, and
Mhm.
he was giving some like really good insight on just finding artists and like how he was talking about like how he met someone or he commissioned someone's art from like Asia and it was like yeah like
Oh, I do a lot of that actually. A lot of
yeah
my art is from Skeb, which is what a
okay
lot of VTubers like to use for art. And so I've commissioned a lot of Japanese artists. So yeah.
nice. Is that something like do you ever want to do that like VTubing? I know that's like hot right now for Twitch, but
Um,
I mean being a voice actor it'll help you like I guess work on characters.
I mean, I've toyed with the idea, but I just don't have time. Like I yeah, and like I used to do a piano stream where I would like stream once a week and play like video game and anime music on the piano, but then I got too busy for that too. So
No, I that's good though that you're busy. Like a lot of I know that the industry's pretty tough to just find jobs at times.
yeah, it really
And
is.
now that it's more I guess competitive with
Hmm.
Crunchyroll taking Funimation and there's more projects, but that means there's also a lot more actors that you're competing with.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
do
a
you find
very oversaturated market.
yes?
Mhm.
I mean, do you find that a bit like at times difficult for yourself then, like when it comes to just getting jobs, whether it's
Oh,
ADR
absolutely.
or voice?
Yeah. I mean, we all, even the most successful person, always wonders when their next gig is gonna come.
Yeah,
So yeah.
that yeah, I like hearing other actors like perspective on it because like I had Robin Collin on and I kind of asked him sort of the same thing too. Again with Mark, I asked him, so like it's good to hear a lot of different perspective when it comes to this because like I don't want it to be where upcoming actors are like being discouraged about
Mhm.
these jobs. Just know that there's projects out there for you. You just have to keep looking and you know
Yep.
don't give up type of deal.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. As we come to near the end here, I mean, again, I just want to thank you for your time, but I do have some fan questions here for you. Um, so the first one here is from Nikki J. They this is I just copy and pasted what they wrote. So
Yeah, sure.
they wrote, "Hi Emmy, a huge fan of your work on Kate and Destiny. I was wondering, out of all the characters that you voice, who would your anime BFF be and why?"
Oh god, that's so hard. Probably Hay from Legend of Hay, because one, he really loves to eat. Two, he's a cat. So like he could be in his boy form or he could be in his cat form, and then I could pats the cat, and it'd be really great. So yeah, probably Hay. Besides that, I think Cosette Destiny would be a lot of fun because we could go eat sweets and yeah, and kaboom.
Let's see. The next one here is from David. He asks, if you could voice any other character other than your own, who would it be and why? Um, he wasn't too specific, but I guess we'll say from like Demon Slayer or so. Like, if you could voice any other character from Demon Slayer, who would it be?
Shinobu.
Shinobu. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a big fan favorite.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
Erica.
love that kind of like, the one who's like smiling, but then it's like
Yeah, Erica does a good job
oh
as
yes, of
Shinobu as
course.
well. Yeah,
Mhm.
but it's good. I think it's really good to see like which characters you think you'd fit doing.
Mhm.
I mean, did you audition for Shinobu at all?
I wasn't even on I don't think I was even in the industry at that point.
Oh, really? Okay, so
Yeah.
that's what, like 2019
Yeah,
ish.
that's when I was just getting started.
Oh wow, okay,
Yeah.
that's good. Yeah, okay. Well, that's that's good.
Yeah, right.
No, I like seeing the progress. Like, it seems like it doesn't seem too long ago. Like it, or at least when I was reading your resume and like looking at your background, like
It definitely makes it seem like I've been doing it for longer than I
yeah,
have.
like it seems like you've been in the industry for a while, and then just to what back like 2019, 2020, like that's
Mhm.
really not that long ago. So
Yeah.
good job to you for progressing, like keep moving up like that. That's good. And then the last question here is from Julian from What's in My Head podcast. He asks, what line of dialogue would you say defines uh okay, so like what's a specific on which character? I guess we could say for Uta, what line of dialogue would you say defines her character?
Um, God, what is that specific line? Um, it's when it's near the end when it's like it's kind of narrating. It's like the Little Mermaid looked back on upon all of her memories and realized that she valued them more than her whole life. Is like that. That's like the paraphrase of it. But yeah,
Oh man, that ending. Oh my
yeah.
god, just like that's good. That's a great pick. But yeah, thank you, Emmy, for this opportunity. Like
Thank you so much for having me.
it's I gotta say, like, just to receive your email earlier this week, I was at work, and when I read that, I was like, "Holy crap, this is not happening." But again, this is a great opportunity, and I really appreciate your time that you were even able to do it this weekend, which is to me it was very soon. Usually, I
Mhm.
like to give my guests like some time to prep or something like that, and kind of give myself time to prep. But again, I really enjoyed talking to you about
Yeah, I had a lot of fun.
and just what you do and getting to know you as well. So hopefully, I get to meet you at a con one day,
Yeah, that'd be
or
great.
meet you in person.
Yeah.
But yeah, did you have any last words before we officially end things here on this episode?
Just yeah, thank you everyone for all of your support. Like it's nothing. I never really expected I would get this far, and I'm gonna keep working harder. In the words of Rena from Higurashi, I'm gonna keep working harder and harder and harder, and hopefully just not disappoint.
And for folks who want to follow you and just continue to support you, where can they reach you at?
Basically, it's just my Twitter, Kitsune Squeak. That's where I post most of the stuff, mostly pictures of my cat, Noctis, who's amazing, and like, yeah, basically just there. I don't
Okay.
really go. I don't have a TikTok or anything like that. I barely touch my Instagram, so yeah, that's the easiest place.
Okay. I'll have that in the show notes and description. So for anyone who wants to follow Emmy, you can follow her on Twitter again. Again, you can find that link in the show notes and all of that. But again, thank you, Emmy, for your time. I really appreciate this. And if you
Of
ever want to
course,
come back on this show again, I'd love to
I'd
talk
love to.
talk to you
Yeah,
about more of your work and just getting to know you more personally as well.
yeah, you can reach out anytime.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. This is episode 128 of Spoiler Force Podcast. Thank you. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe, and have a great day.
See ya.
If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to give a review and rate Spoiler Force Podcast. If you want to get all Spoiler Force updates or even peeks at behind the scenes, you can join the Spoiler Force Discord community. And if you'd like to show support, give tips, recommendations, sponsorships, or any collaborations, you can email me at rickyvang92@gmail.com.